Well, with weeks of additional rain forecasted, at least a couple more weeks, I think this week's video is going to be more about why we own the boat we own. Basically, I guess what we're looking at is the benefits of owning a smaller boat. And those benefits obviously fall into two broad categories. I guess one category would be cost, since smaller boat is less costly. The other series of benefits would be ease of access, ease of maintenance, things like that. So, while it rains, we'll do a video. When addressing the benefits of a smaller boat, it's kind of interesting that there's no actual definition of a small boat. You know, you get a small craft advisory, and the National Weather Service talks about the wind speed and the wave height, but they don't really talk about the size of a small craft. NOAA, on the other hand, that's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, does in fact define three categories of small craft, but they range all the way up to 66 feet in length, which, you know, for my purposes, I'm not considering that a smaller boat. When I refer to a smaller boat, it's a relative term. A smaller boat is a boat that's sized to where you can afford it, you can handle it, you've got access to areas you want to boat in, and you've got space that you feel comfortable. My wife and I bought our current boat 28 years ago, and even though we've often looked at bigger, better boats, if you want to call it that, we keep coming back to the boat we know because it seems to be meeting all of our requirements. Sure, we'd like more space, a little more weight, especially when the seas get steep, but we are comfortable and happy with what we own. Most slips are priced based on the overall length, and in our case we have a 40-foot slip, even though the overall length of our boat is only a little over 37 feet, even though nominally it's a Catalina 34. Not only is it cheaper to actually haul out the boat because it's smaller, but the bottom painting costs are reduced because it requires less bottom paint. It's also quicker and easier to sand it, to deal with the running gear and any other activity that's required while it's hauled out. Because the boat, the hull, the running gear, the rigging are all less expensive, the insurance costs themselves are greatly reduced by having a smaller vessel. And along those same lines, the registration and taxes for that vessel, again because it costs less, are also reduced. All sailboats eventually need their sails replaced. One of the things we noticed was that there's a huge difference in price for the size of a sail. We have a tall rig, which means even for a 34-foot boat, ours is a little more expensive. This is our new sail, first time up. How awesome is this? We're basically kind of close hauled. Even though a sailboat uses its engine as seldom as possible, the fact that we have a smaller boat allows us to average about a third of a gallon an hour in fuel consumption. This more than doubles if you go even 7 feet larger. Transient moorage fees are also cheaper in a smaller boat. especially because these are literally based on a per foot ruling. So having a boat that's only 34 feet long is much cheaper than a longer boat. Perhaps the single biggest benefit of a smaller boat is a shallower draft and a lower mast height. There are places that we can sail that other boats that are larger can't go to. As an example, Port Townsend Canal has a bridge over it, which you can't traverse unless you're under 52 feet. Also, we've got places like Shallow Bay and Fox Cove that really require a relatively shallow draft vessel. Especially as we begin to age, as we all do eventually, access to a boat is much easier if it has a lower freeboard. You can step on and off from the dock. Smaller boats can get by with basically much smaller and lighter ground tackle. Your anchoring is much easier if you're not lifting as heavy of a weight. Smaller boats tend to have less complex systems, such as the electrical system, the water system, the tankage and storage. Any of the systems are much less complex.
Okay, we're on our way.
Heating or cooling a boat is fairly important in the Pacific Northwest. And because our boat is relatively small, these systems can be portable. We actually use portable heaters, gas-powered for the most part. We use electric blankets. Again, simple things that we can do to fight off the cold. We also have fans, just battery-powered fans, to keep us a little bit cooler in the summer heat. A smaller boat also consumes less power in terms of amperage, which means that we can have a relatively simple battery backup and solar charging regimen. We can put, as an example, 20 amp hours, or 20 amps I should say, each hour into our battery bank just off a couple of solar panels we use. In our next video, we'll go into more detail about how we charge and manage our batteries.
Yeah, this little charger does the job.
We keep our solar panel right there. By the way, it's charging our batteries right now with 10 amps. A smaller boat, basically, as an example, you can use mooring buoys. We like to go to Eagle Harbor, for instance, and Eagle Harbor, you have to moor on a buoy because they have eelgrass on the bottom they're trying to protect, so you need to use a mooring buoy. Unfortunately, if your boat is over 45 feet in length, you can't use a mooring buoy because they're not suited for that size and weight of a vessel, especially in wind. Also, you've got the issue of rope buoys where you may not have enough room for a larger vessel. And similarly, on any docking situation, if you've got a linear dock and you're coming alongside that dock, a smaller boat is always easier to fit into a dock where a larger boat may not fit. Basically, the smallest boat that meets your needs is the best boat for you. Hope you have a great time boating, and we'll see you in the next video.